This is Athletes as Educators with former pro basketball player, championship winning coach, and author Angela R. Lewis. Angie Lewis interviews current and former athletes who are passionate about sharing the lessons they've learned and the experiences that have shaped their lives. A resource for parents, a guide for student athletes, a source for current and former athletes, keys to transition off the court. Welcome to the Athletes as Educators podcast with Angela R. Lewis.
On our show today, we have Corey Frazier. Corey played college basketball at St. Louis University. Like myself, Corey then played overseas in Norway, came back to St. Louis, and started coaching. Corey is from Charleston, Missouri, and has a heart of gold. Corey, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me here.
One of the things that I told you before the show, but I want everyone to know is that I really appreciate your willingness to always say yes when it comes to something that has to do with helping kids. So if it was, I collected money to send shoes to people in Kenya, you're one of the first people I called, and you said yes. Sending kids to Costa Rica with another youth group, sending kids throughout the country to learn about social justice, you said yes to that. A series, Change the Game series that we did a couple years back where we talked about the college recruiting process. Similar to today, you said yes, man. So just thank you so much for always being willing to say yes when it comes to helping the kids in our community.
Thank you. I just think it's always important for us to find a way to give back, especially we've experienced a lot of things in our lifetime, and a lot of kids may not ever get to see that, but through our experience, we can at least try to educate them on it or give them a sense of hope that they can. If anything, just be there for them when needed. So I have no hesitation when it comes to helping kids at all.
That's evident in your coaching career. You've been coaching for 20 years? Literally 20 years.
I'd say I've been in April 16 years, but I would say a total of 18 years. Yeah.
So about 20 years. You've been at one school for 16 years. That's
yeah.
That's
been at
really
one school
remarkable.
for 16 years. This is a rarity.
It is very rare. Talk a little bit about why you started coaching and a little bit about your leadership style.
I would say, to begin with, the reason I got into coaching, actually, I got back from playing overseas or what have you, and I was at St. Louis U. The crazy thing is I was involved with the Big Brothers and Sisters program or what have you, and I was doing that. It was cool, what have you. I liked, being involved, helping kids, but I felt something was missing because the whole basketball piece and just sports in general. I'm a sports guy. That's all I ever knew was, doing sports outside of school. And my barber was cutting my hair one day and was like, yo, you ever thought about coaching basketball? I was like, no. I don't know how I was as a player, so it never did, cross my mind to ever think about being a coach. Because, as growing up, we all want to make it to the NBA and do all these other things with basketball, but coaching is probably not one of the things that we all think about. And so he invited me to come down just to check it out over to Our Lady of the Holy Cross, which is a school over in Dayton, a little Catholic school over there. And, man, I'll tell you what, after my first practice, I fell in love with it and was like, I know this, I can do this, and the rest is kind of history. My leadership, things that I've taken, from being from Charleston, it's always, to me, it's one of the basketball hotbeds in Southeast Missouri and the state of Missouri in general. But coming from there, you have to be tough-minded. My high school coach was a military guy, so we always taught discipline, through basketball. And, basketball can take you a lot of places. Use it as a tool in life versus just, playing the sport and don't take advantage of it. Don't take it for granted, I'm sorry. But after going through him and playing for Coach Fullnow, which was another, extension of a different style of basketball, but it's the same discipline. It's about, the game of life more so than basketball. So that's where I think I combined both of the coaches, their ideas and their mindsets, and created, the style of play and the mindset that I have of coaching my kids, and want to make sure every kid that I touch in terms of basketball and just in life in general. I always think about being a leader more so than being a follower. But to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower, a great follower, I should say, and, lead by example. So that's kind of the structure of me coaching basketball and being involved with it. And that's kind of the story behind it.
You're absolutely right, though. Being able to lead, the prerequisite for that is being able to follow and knowing when to follow and when to step back. What are some ways that you instill those leadership values in your players?
I'll say it again.
What are some ways that you instill those leadership skills in your players?
The main thing is the first conversation I have with all of my players is a lot of kids are born leaders and don't even know it. And we recognize it right away because of, the attention to detail, how they respond to coaching, and one of the biggest things is getting kids out of their comfort zone and making them understand that, things that we say to them or try to help them with is only to help them. And it's not about us. And I say we, I'm supposed to get my coaching staff and my long-time friend, and John Redden, who's been with me from day one since I've been coaching. We've always tried to instill in every kid, get out of your comfort zone and look at something, let this game take you places that you would never, dream or imagine of going. And the thing with it is just try to get them out of their comfort zone, number one. Number two, being able to accept criticism and apply lessons learned to life as well as basketball. So those are two big things that we try to, instill in all of our players.
Having you guys lead them is tremendous because you all have had some pretty great experiences playing sports, and so I would guess that your players have to respect what you've done on the court because you play with some pretty good teams. What's one of your most memorable basketball moments?
Oh, I would say winning. You know what? I take that back. And the crazy thing, the most memorable part of didn't even have to do anything with a basketball game. If it was, we say game, then I have a game that I will never forget. But my biggest accomplishment as a coach was sending all 9 seniors in 2012. All 9 seniors got a scholarship. That is the biggest accomplishment for my program over the last 16 years. And I speak on that highly because all 9 of those guys, it didn't look that way when they were freshmen, but to see all 9 of those kids get an opportunity to go and play the game they love after high school that was awesome for me. And I take that as, that's a testament to what we're doing. And we're on the right track because we are getting kids an opportunity to go to school. But the other part of the accountability from them, they have to buy into it and want to do it. And, and those kids did it well. But we didn't win the state championship that year, but those kids got an opportunity to go to school, and they all signed, and all of them are about to graduate, which is huge. So, it's even better.
Corey, that's crazy. That's amazing and so rare to have 9 seniors go on to play college ball and get their school paid for. That's amazing. It's clear that you've dealt with the college recruiting process, obviously as a player, having played Division I basketball, but then also as a coach. What's your advice to young players who are going through this process?
Really, to be honest with you, it's about you got to take care of that classroom first. The first question I always get from any coach is, how are they in the classroom? And there's no lie you can tell to cover that up. But the first thing is always ask, how are they in the classroom? The second thing is how are they as a player, as a teammate? How are they towards the parents? How are their parents? Like, those are the questions we get asked. So we always try to make our athletes conscious of image and perception, and making sure that classroom has to be taken care of. So we find all types of ways to assure that, hey, we're checking on it, we're on it, we're going to be here at 6 in the morning to do it before school, whatever we got to do, but we're going to do what's necessary to make sure these kids are getting the help they need in the classroom, and let them know we care outside of basketball is the other piece.
I was talking to someone else recently, and they said, make sure that you have a good coach, right? Having a really good coach makes a difference in terms of your students' opportunities, and that's based on, do they care about them more than simply on the court and being athletes? And it's evident that you and your staff care a lot. What's your advice, or what's the message that you communicate to parents as well?
We've always had an understanding with our parents as trust us, trust the process, trust that we do have your kids' best interests at heart. We've all had a career, so we don't need to relive anything through your kids. We only want what's best, but they have to trust us in what we're doing. And everybody wants the microwave action, which is you stick a kid in the microwave or whatever it is, and then he's done, he's a ready-made player. It doesn't work like that, And I've always advised the parents to, the accountability piece with them at home, making sure that the same message is being preached. Hey, your coach coaches basketball, we'll take care of that, and helping us, and we help each other and pushing the kid in the same direction, like being supportive of the program, but also being a good parent to your kid. Because if that kid is crying and disrespectful towards us or our staff or any teachers at school, you go home, he's probably being disrespectful to his parents at home as well. So we make sure that we try to have that open conversation about, here's what's to be expected. But as you know, sometimes coaches end up being the big brother or the father figure for a lot of kids because of, a lot of things that's going on in society today. So all circumstances are different. So and we end up being the ones that are called on in the middle of the night when something goes wrong with the kid, because we do put a lot of time and effort into them. So we just try to keep that open line of communication with the parents, like, hey, we'll help out at all costs, but we need your support as well. You got to hold your end of the bargain too.
Yeah, that partnership between the player, the coach, and the parent is essential. If a player sees the parent and the coach not getting along, then it can hurt the kid in terms of them understanding like who's there to help them. So finding a way to make sure that all lines of communication are open are essential to the kid's success.
Yes, and that can even be a conflict with kids, amongst kids on the team, where parents are not getting along, and it shows on the court where I don't like this kid because he's playing in front of you. And we try to adjust. I mean, like really adjust to get them to adjust to. This is not about one kid. This is a team. There's no I in team. The old saying goes. And we try to get them to understand it. But we also always, it's never going to fail. There's always going to be a year where somebody's going to test it. And the things we say, we don't go to your job, and if you're a mail person and deliver mail, figure out to deliver mail. Trust us with what we got. I trust that you will have my mail here when it's supposed to be here, and you should trust that I'm going to give your son or daughter, whoever it is, everything we got, and we're going to do it to the best of our ability. And if we don't, then we have resources and we can still help your kid. So at all costs, trust the process and trust what we're doing, and know that we got the best interest for your kid. So that's the bottom line.
Your trust is essential, man. Having that trust between players and coaches and parents is really important to make sure that process goes well. Well, one of the issues that's going on nowadays in youth sports that we see all the time is overuse. I mean, we have kids burning out sooner. They're playing during the high school season. They start up immediately with summer ball. They play 90 games in the summer. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration, but maybe not.
No, you're close. You're close.
They play all these games in the summer. What's your take on that? Is it too much? Is it not enough? Like, what should players be doing?
I think there's a misconception with spring and summer basketball should be, even in the fall, preseason. People think going to play a lot of games gets you better. That reinforces your bad habits more than what they already are. So it makes you worse for the most time. Yeah, you'll get bigger, you'll get stronger, but you're still doing the same thing you were doing as a freshman in high school, or even in the younger ages. Playing a lot of basketball doesn't help you. I think you have to find some time to get better, which is a skill development, not as playing as many games that you normally would. If you're playing 6 games in a weekend, what are you doing to your body? And we know if you're on the road and you're traveling and playing a lot, you're not fueling properly. You're eating the first McDonald's you see, what have you. And that's not for all the programs, but a lot of them do that. They don't have any kind of nutrition plan for the kids. But as well, you got parents who just drop their kids off and go with a coach all summer, and they don't know what their kids doing all summer. So that's when kids are getting handled the wrong way. Next thing you know, their kids are getting sold to a youth team. So there's a lot that goes on. I, for one, wish that parents would take a stand in controlling how much your kid plays. Find a program that doesn't play a lot, but works on development of your kids, whether it's, getting their body stronger or whatever it is, but also getting skill work, because you don't want to have your kid going out here playing all spring, go back in the fall, doing the same thing, get ready for season, and they're still sitting on the bench. Well, you got to really ask yourself, what did you do this summer? So, that's key. But, I just think more parents need to take control of what they're doing with their kids in the spring and summer, and make sure you get them with the right people. And also not letting them play. If they're playing over 40 games in the summertime, that is ridiculous. It is crazy. I know with St. Louis Eagles, we don't play as many because we're in the league. But our kids are fresh at the end of the summer, and they're able to perform at a high level. So absolutely. I think Nike is doing a great job of doing that with us. With everybody going to get a chance to play in that, in that arena with some of our best players. But that's why they do it. And I think that's everybody should model their summers by that.
Will you talk a little bit more about the EYBL? Is what you're referring to with the St. Louis Eagles in the St. Louis area. One of the best teams in the country, definitely throughout our region. Will you talk a little bit about the EYBL and how it's set up?
Oh my God, it probably is. Everybody don't like it, but those people never seen it before. But it is the closest thing to college basketball for any high school kid to experience before actually playing college basketball. The stuff that they have going on, I think it's 32 teams, maybe 36 teams total in the country, and you're only playing 3 to 4 games in a week. You might play a Friday night, 2 games on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday, and you fly back home or drive back home wherever you're going. But it's a league created to play kids, and the kids are playing at a high level every single weekend. It's consistent of a bunch of kids that you're probably going to see in the NBA or any pro, what have you, or a lot of kids that you're going to see at the high level schools like the Duke, North Carolinas of the world. So the kids are playing at a high level, but the atmosphere for those games is NCAA championship every single game is being played. These kids are playing for something. They're not just playing to win a tournament in the weekend, or they're playing to make it to the Peach Jam, which is at the end of the summer. So you have to win at least 75% of your games to even qualify. Just like the NCAA tournament, you have to actually qualify and make the tournament in order to even play at the Peach Jam. So having that ultimate goal at the end, it drives kids and it drives people to do what's necessary, like the skill development and stuff I'm talking about, to get better. They're not just going to throw, anything out there. You have to perform at a high level to play in that league. And, if you don't perform at a high level as a program, your program is subject to not be able to come back in that league the next year. So you're constantly having to prove yourself, get better. Even your coaches got to coach at a high level. So I remember last summer I was exhausted. I coached, 6 games over a course of 5 days, and I was exhausted because that was the equivalent to coaching 5 high school games in 4 to 5 days, and they were hard, they were tough, and you have to be up studying, looking at the teams, scouting reports, the whole nine. So the league is, if you get a chance to go, take advantage and go and see, because I can't even explain. I'm really excited about being back there again this summer.
Yeah, I definitely plan on coming to at least one tournament this year
and
seeing
you gotta do
what it's like.
Yeah.
It sounds like what the EYBL is Elite Youth Basketball League. What they've done with Nike is that they've created a situation where you value games. Every possession means that much more. I've talked to a lot of other people, who I've interviewed for the Athletes as Educators podcast, and they've said kids don't value games as much anymore because you're going to get another one, and then you're going to play another one. But it sounds like this league has created a different culture.
Yes, and the culture with it is respect. You have to respect the other side. There's no, if somebody's getting blown out, it's because they're missing a lot of players or something crazy like that. But man, I'm telling you, when you talk about just getting after the defensive schemes. You got to stay up studying all night. It's what you want for your kid. You want your kid to play there. And if you don't, then I don't, maybe you walk around with your eyes wide shut, but you have to want your kid to be involved in something like that because it's high level. And that league of playing for something, winning games, and then you go online and see where you are in terms of your division, 4 divisions. Am I you in the Elite 8 or in the bottom half of that, whatever it is. You know what you're playing for. You know how many games you got to win to make this. It's like making the NCAA tournament. So there's a lot at stake doing so. And if you're fortunate like we did, we made it to the championship game. You get play on ESPN. A lot of kids can't do that. Right. To play 2 games on ESPN in the summer is unheard of. But you know, we experienced great success, and actually we played in the championship game twice. Come up short twice, so we're due to win one here soon. So I'm hoping for it.
Exactly, we're rooting for St. Louis Eagles to win that Peach Jam this year.
Yes,
let's go ahead and put
you gotta win. Gotta win.
Corey, let's take a trip back for a second. Peach Jam didn't exist when you were coming through. EYBL wasn't out there. When not either one of us were coming through.
Right.
When did you start playing ball, and when did you first fall in love with the game?
Man, watched my uncle play when he played at Missouri back in the day, and at first I really wasn't even paying attention to the games and what have you, but they were playing DePaul. And Mark McGuire was on there, Kelly Caputa, and they was at Notre Dame. So watching him play those games, watching him on TV, piqued my interest. From that point on, I was running up and down the hallway with a roll of socks, trying to throw them up on the door face and trying to run up and jump. So that's when I fell in love with it back then. Just watching my Uncle Ricky. He played at the University of Missouri, and I fell in love with it. So I was probably about 7 or 8 years old there.
And is that when you started, when you were 7 or 8? That's when you started playing organized?
Immediately after seeing him, I was trying to bounce anything that I could bounce. I don't care what it was. I was trying to bounce to see if it would come back up to me. So I was around 7 years old when I really started to, really get involved with basketball. And I think my first time ever play a lot was when we were 9 and 10. 9 and 10 years old was my first time playing.
Okay. It's really interesting to hear that just seeing someone inspired you, seeing your uncle and seeing someone you knew inspired you to want to play. I remember being in middle school and seeing Shamiqua Holesclaw and Samika Randall and Tamika Catchings on TV playing for University of Tennessee, and I was like, I want to be like them,
Right. Yeah.
So it's pretty powerful to get inspiration from other people who've been through it.
Yeah, and that's where it's all at. And like I said, after watching that, I'm ready to play. I don't know what's going on. I don't know any of the rules, but I see what they're doing. They're running and throwing the ball. Let me try that. And like I said, I had a ball of socks to throw them all around the place. Got in trouble a lot, but I knew I wanted to do that. And I got a chance and got a ball to actually, first basketball for Christmas. I was trying to bounce that thing everywhere, on the walls, outside, in the snow. It didn't matter. I was trying to get it done.
One of the things that happens pretty early on when you start playing is you realize you're not good at all. You're not good at all. And there's someone or a group of people who humble you, who reinforce that you're not good. Who are those people in your life? And what made you keep playing?
Where do I start? Let me see. Well, the guy I was watching on TV, my uncle was the first person, and my older cousin, Lamont, he was a couple years older than I was. But like I said, I really didn't go watch him play either. He was playing probably at 9 and 10 years old, and I don't even recall going to any of his games when he played Little League basketball. But when he got to junior high, so those two were probably the main critics of, dude, you're not very good. So first thing I learned how to do was dribble with my left hand, even though I was right-handed and I could dribble with my right hand, but they made me work with, dribbling with my left hand was the first thing I learned how to do. And how to run and jump stop, pass the ball, those were the things that I learned, but they kind of humbled me real quick, like, yeah, we can do this, but you're not ready for this yet.
Yeah, for parents who are listening, put your kid out there with people who are better than them. Let them play with older kids, put them in environments where they have to sink or swim, right? And you can test to see if they love it. I'm not saying that your kid get beat up, literally. But, like everyone who's been good and accomplished anything in sport, anything in life, they've been really, really bad. And it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I mean, just because it may take them 3-4 summers to really catch some concepts in a game like basketball, right? And for them to really,
and that's true. And that's true because in essence, being from a small town and not getting to play competition like you have here in the city because there's so many people, I remember going out just playing, and those kids older than I was, and they were big. And my determination was, I'm going to beat you. I don't know when, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to eventually be better than everybody. And that was just always my mindset. My goal was to try to be better than the person who beat me that day. And if I couldn't beat you today, then I'm going to try to beat you tomorrow. I'm going to keep playing until I beat you. And that created that competitive, nature for me. Like, I want to win. And my ultimate goal was to beat my uncle and my cousin because those were the two who taught me how to play.
Yep. Did you beat them?
Yeah. Well, I beat my Uncle Ricky, and I remember running, and that didn't happen until my freshman year in college, which is crazy. Yeah. He's probably a little bit older than that, but I remember I had 13, and we were going to 15, 3-point line. I shot a 3, and it was worth 2 points on the blacktop. And I remember running all down the street because we were back in Charleston. I just took off running like, man, I finally, he's like, let's play again. No, I'm never playing you again. So, which I had to eventually give him a rematch, and he blew me out. But the whole point is I got to beat him. My cousin Lamont broke my hand. So I was up on him, going to the basket, and, he was playing in Mizzou at the time. He was a junior, and I was a junior in high school. So this was during the springtime. I remember going up, trying to get to the basket, and he smacked down on my hand so hard. So we didn't get to finish that game. Still kind of upset with him about that, but, we'll make it up some kind of way. I'll get him eventually.
Dag, that's crazy. But it shows how competitive you are. Yeah. And at some point, you want to win. Like, if it's in you, you will not continue to get beat. I have older brothers, right? We're identical twins, and we used to play bucket all the time in the backyard, all the time. And I beat them one time, right? I beat them in bucket one time, which is one of
all that matters. One time is fine. That's all that matters. Just beat him once, and you can always say, like my son, I don't care how many times I beat him one-on-one, he's always going to remember, well, I beat you, so that's all that matters. So I was like, yeah, okay. I can't say too much about that. So he did beat me once, so.
Exactly. But the thing is, sometimes it takes years to win.
Yes.
It's not going to happen in a month or 2 months. You might have to work on that crossover for 3 years before you're able to pull it off in a game and it's effective. So I think sometimes we put all this pressure on kids at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old to be great when really they may not mature into their bodies and into themselves as an athlete until they're 15, 16, maybe 20, depending on their abilities. So just let kids enjoy it early on. Test them to see if they love it,
Mm-hmm. And once you've experienced some success, it's going to drive you. But then there's people who, they're just satisfied with making it. With me, I just feel like there is no ending to it because there's always somebody wanting to get better. There's always even coaches that have called me and we've had conversations about, things that I do. I haven't won a state championship or anything like that in the last couple of years, but you rest assured we're going to be competitive and we're going to be the team that you don't want to play, and I feel like standing on that sideline, I'm going to give my best effort, and that's one thing my kids can count on for me, so they follow that lead. They give their best effort as well.
That makes a tremendous difference. Corey, we know that there are a lot of players who transition from playing college who end up coaching. You're like a vet in the game for real, and you have had success.
I feel like it. I never thought I'd hear that I'm a vet in the game, but I've been through the ups and all the downs. So it's fun. I like to take on that challenge, and that's what it's all about. Just taking on that challenge and letting people see your kids progress. Even this season wasn't the best for us, but to watch my kids, having freshmen and sophomores on the court, no juniors and 2 seniors progress the way they did to get to the districts, win a game in districts, which is not heard of when you got a freshman-heavy roster, is unheard of. So that's a testament to those kids taking the time and really buying in and want to get better. And now they're looking forward to next year like no other team that I've ever had. These kids really want to get in. They want to prove that, they belong. So they don't want to be the worst team that ever come through Maplewood, but they're definitely buying in and want to be, in that conversation, be one of the best.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you instill that drive in them.
That makes me hungry. I'm hungry for it. I cannot wait to get back in there with them.
If there are young players who are recently graduated from college who are interested in becoming a coach, what's some advice that you have for them?
Go back and give back to the programs that helped you. And the reason why I say that because a lot of people want to just go in and just dive in and be a head coach right there and then. No, go back to where you were taught. Give back to that program, and you'll start to see the things, come full circle for you because they're going to point you in directions of people that you don't have access or have relationships with yet that they can help you out. So I always encourage people, go back and, if you're not getting the success you want to in terms of finding where you want to be as a coach, you can't find anything, go back to where you started at. Get back to those programs, and then that'll give you your foundation. I went back and helped out, and it looks good for you too as well. But definitely getting a lot more doors than just trying to go out here blind and find a place with the so-called quote unquote hookup. So just go get back to your old programs.
Corey, that's so poignant, man. Go back to where you started. Go back home. Like, go back to that place that helped you. One, it's going to feel good because you're going to be looking at people who are now where you were. But then, two, people still remember you. They still remember you, and they'll be thankful that you came back to help them out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. That's awesome. Corey, I just want to say thank you again for being on the podcast. Thank you for all that you give in our community. A lot of it goes unnoticed because you're not the type of person that tries to get attention for what you do. You just do it and you help. So I just want to thank you so much for always being willing to say yes when our kids are in need.
I appreciate that, and that's what it's all about. I wish more people would do it, and I'm always trying to encourage people. The times that you don't feel like doing, that's when you get your best results. If you go in and just say, I'm going to do it anyway, you get your best results. But I always try to encourage everybody, even, guys that are training with me now. Sometimes doing stuff for free and giving your time is better than paying for a kid to do anything. So always be willing to give back. And, it take up a little time, but, you just never know whose life you're going to touch during the process.
Absolutely. Corey, if people want to talk to you more, if parents have questions about the college recruiting process, if there are some young coaches who want to talk to a veteran coach, how can they reach you?
You can always reach me at C. Frazier at puresweatbasketball.com. Or you can always reach my phone number is always out and about everywhere. So 314-780-7102. That's my cell, which is never turned out. My wife don't like that, but she understands that, I'm always trying to help somebody and we do it together. So that's the biggest thing. But those are the, easiest ways to reach, or you can reach me at Maplewood at Coach.Frazier at emergeschools.net. So that's the best way to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Corey, thank you again for being on the Athletes as Educators podcast, and I look forward to working with you more in the future.
Yes, anytime, Angie. You always know we're brothers and sisters from another mother, so we always gonna be family. We're always gonna be business. So appreciate you calling me and taking the time to do this.
This is Athletes as Educators with former pro basketball player, championship winning coach, and author Angela R. Lewis. Angie Lewis interviews current and former athletes who are passionate about sharing the lessons they've learned and the experiences that have shaped their lives. A resource for parents, a guide for student athletes, a source for current and former athletes, keys to transition off the court. Welcome to the Athletes as Educators podcast with Angela R. Lewis.